We are in Salt Lake City, Utah for this qualifier match, the Race for 8. My name is Dave Vincent alongside Dave Fink for the Abraham Montijo Carlos Chavez rematch tournament that they have both played in before, but they've had some real cool rivalries, Dave. Tucson, Arizona, you remember that cramp match where both of those players were cramping near the finals, where Abraham finally pulled it out.
I do remember that, Dave, in Tucson at the first pre-race event, not an official race event, but it was Abraham Montijo winning two very close games there, Dave, I believe, as both guys were nearly on the ground in pain. And Carlos, Dave, looked really good this morning, taking out local favorite Kevin Price, who a lot of people had in their brackets, Dave. That was a bracket buster, even though Carlos was the higher seed.
You know, last year at this tournament here at the Sports Mall in Salt Lake City, I recall, did these two players play each other?
They actually didn't, Dave.
Okay.
It was Carlos Chavez who held a match point against Chip Morales at 24-23. Chip Morales made an amazing get. Carlos missed a kill shot attempt in that right corner, his favorite shot. Chip went on to come back and win that match in overtime. Chip ultimately took 6th place in that event, which was the reason, Dave, Chip was invited to all the events this year up until this one. So it comes down to 1 point, 1 shot, 1 inch a lot of the times. That separates these guys from being in that top 8 and maybe not even getting their name in the bright lights.
Well, these bright lights are going to go a little dim here as we get ready for this announcement, as Abraham Montijo needs to fix his eye guards. But Abraham Montijo, Tucson, Arizona, up against Carlos Chavez from Buena Park. Here we go. First serve, 1 game to 25. Win by 2, play all bounces. And the first one is a short ball. This is a little strange court, Dave. There's a left side wall glass that has white backing on it with the sponsor logos.
I think Carlos has an advantage having played a match on this court already today. Didn't expend himself too much. He got himself adjusted to the altitude here, which I believe, Dave, and you'll correct me, is a little bit over 4,500 feet. And I think now he's a little bit more acclimated. Abraham comes from Tucson, where the altitude's about 2,300 feet, so he's somewhat accustomed to this altitude.
Now that you have a little controversy here, Abraham was insisting that there was no contact and that he was not going to leave the server's box. Referee came out there, made the call, and now referee is going to make them redo this. Now Carlos is explaining what's going on. Score 0-0. Abraham was insisting that they never even touched each other.
That's the kind of argument, Dave, that if it's late in a close match, could be a lot more heated. You know, being that it was just the first point, it's something that you let slide a little bit. There's a beautiful head fake from Honest Abe, Dave. And another head fake. Carlos able to track that one down. Abe's completely in control here. I think, Dave, you told me, and I agree with you, Abe plays more handball, hits the handball more times than anyone on this planet. This is a guy that plays 4 or 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. And he doesn't care, Dave. He plays big ball, small ball, 1 wall, 3 wall, 4 wall. He'll play anything, but he's always playing.
Abraham is fascinated with the game of handball. He teaches it, so he's on the court mentoring, and you're right, it doesn't matter what ball or what wall is being used. In a flat rollout underhand paddle from Carlos Chavez. Brother Marcos qualified for the big ball traveling 3-wall nationals alongside Echelon last weekend. Brother Marcos is an elite small ball player, Dave, and you've played him before. He's tough, but
one of the best.
But he qualified a big ball 3-wall, which is interesting.
Well, he's made that his game, Marcos has, and I'm sure he's watching his younger brother here. But, you know, Marcos is just obsessed now with big ball, and he's obsessed with getting better at it. He was one of those guys, I believe, Dave, that was out there last summer, and guys were saying, what, you think you can bring your small ball pro game out here? It doesn't work that way, but he's showing them it does. He's dedicated himself to it.
We really can't hear the court sounds,
Well, we can hear Rihanna, though.
but we can hear Rihanna through our headsets.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me as if the club has some audio coming through, radio station perhaps, and one of our microphones is near that speaker. Abraham misses a corner kill.
I don't think a club like this, Dave, would go with the radio. I think they've had some sort of satellite Sirius hooked up in here.
Well, there's a possibility there.
I don't think they want to hear DJs talking about cats and dryers. They might, though, want to hear, what are you wearing?
Abraham's going to keep putting the pressure on. Abraham really likes hitting that ball into the right corner, the right wall first, and it could be either 1 inch high or 12 feet high, but he's going to hit it over there first. Score is 4-0 here. One game to 25. You have to win by 2. Halftime at 15. Play all bad bounces. Really no stoppage of play. And the players are loving it. They didn't really necessarily understand it or get it at first, but now they seem to like it. Nice get right there from Montijo. Carlos Chavez plays down at the Los Angeles Athletic Club, and he said he was just so close to getting Vince Munoz to come out of retirement to play in this tournament. Nice get right there from Carlos. Backhanded scoop right there. Abraham Montijo now gets one that's going to go all the way to the front wall. And he does the best thing you could do with it, and the crowd likes it. Montijo gets another point. 7-0. Make that 8-0. Montijo playing incredible ball. We are also going to take a timeout here in the booth. We'll be back in just a bit. Stay here. 60 seconds at racefor8.com.
Haven't been ready.
Back at the Sports Mall in Murray, Utah. My name is Dave Vincent, alongside David Fink after that timeout. Abraham Montijo doing a lot like what he did in Denver, Colorado when he was dominating early on in those qualifiers. He looks unbeatable at this moment, Dave. He's up 8-0 here early on first game. I should say first half of this match. Nice dive right there. These guys do have a rivalry that Abraham has been controlling. I think the pure essence of the definition of the word rivalry means that both players probably should be winning. and it's kind of a coin toss. So maybe it's not necessarily a rivalry if Abraham Montijo is controlling that streak, Dave. But score is 1-8. You're watching the World Players of Handball and the live broadcast of this bonus coverage. This is a qualifier final. The winner will be in a blind draw to go up against the number 5 through 8 seeds, and the loser will be in that 1 through 4 seed in a blind draw as well. So both of these players will be inserted into the top 16, where they will get ranking points and cash. And there are some players that would rather lose in that qualifier final because they think that they have a better chance.
Really? What players are those, Dave? Who said that? So you have a better chance against Moreno than against Anthony Celesto. Is that what you're saying?
I'd say that I have a better chance against maybe a Sean Linning than I would against Emmett Pachot.
Really, because Sean did beat you 21-0 with his flip-flops on for money.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So you're thinking maybe since he'll play with shoes on in the tournament that you'll do better.
There's a good chance.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, you picked the right time to step in and start talking. 9-2 is the score.
Well, I can smell the BS.
Butterscotch from Dairy Queen. 10-2 score. Montijo in the lead. Abraham wearing that blue WPH World Dream Team shirt, and he goes and kills that ball off the back wall. Now making a mockery of Carlos Chavez. Went to the meet and greet at Dominique Sanone's house last night, where Carlos was there. We had a good long talk last night.
Did you?
Got to know each other. I think he determined that he now has one extra person to hate in this world after that conversation. He's a wonderful guy to be around.
Not a good serve there from Carlos. It comes way off that revolving door. And Dave, the ball does fly here. I think it's a combination of the altitude and the fast courts and a really good ball. Particularly off the back wall. It just jumps off the back wall. You have to make that adjustment. Dave, the WPH went deep into its Race for 8 Pro Tour rulebook today, as Article 38D/4 states that if the winner of a first round qualifier matchup then goes on to forfeit the qualifier final, as you did today, Dave Vincent, we have what's called a special lucky loser playoff, which means every player, Dave, who lost today in the first round of the qualifier will be eligible to become that lucky loser who plays a 1 through 4 seed tomorrow. That means, Dave, that Kevin Price, your old nemesis, Ivan Ruiz, Joe Leonsis, Armando Ibarra, and Matt Stalsberg will all have a second reprieve.
Wow.
I
So
mean,
that's
these guys,
a real lucky loser draw.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, I think that's smart of the WPH to have that in the manual. I felt so bad forfeiting into that qualifier final today. Ball just over the line. But I heard the guitar string snap in my
12 plays 2.
my groin area. And had to pull out of this tournament.
Second serve.
Now, Dave, if Abraham Montijo goes on to win this match, he cannot play Andy Nett in tomorrow's round of 16 because they played in the last event, Dave, in Denver. So that would mean that if Abraham pulls the Dreamboat's name, he will put that name back into the hat, and he will have to pull either Emmett, Anthony Celeste, or Aaron Garner. I know those are matches, Dave, that you would look forward to seeing. Abraham this year has qualified in every event. He's actually had some bad luck. He's pulled Alan Garner's name. He's pulled Andy Nett's name. He's pulled Emmett's name. I mean, those are the top guys that you can possibly play in that round of 16. Maybe tomorrow, Dave, he pulls Anthony Celeste.
Well, if he does pull Anthony Celeste, that could be one of the best matches we've had all year.
Anthony's playing very good ball here, Dave.
Well, do you look at the score? Abraham Montijo doing the same. I believe if Abraham did pull Anthony and were able to go on to defeat him, you'd see a lot of confidence coming from the Tucsonian. Abraham Montijo is very comfortable in these courts. Now here's an interesting call that's also in the manual. Article 38 slash 38-7/4.
Wait, hold on, let me just get my manual out here.
Yeah,
sure.
you need to open it up.
Okay.
This
So
lucky
you said,
loser,
wait, that's Article 38, what?
-7/4.
Okay, let me just turn here to page 164. Okay.
As we watch.
All right, I'm on that.
Okay.
I'm in that section right now.
Okay, now I'm not going to read it as it is quoted
Okay,
there.
all right.
I'm just
We'll
going to
paraphrase.
I'm going to paraphrase from
Okay.
off my memory as Carlos dives in and there's a side out. Now the lucky loser, when this, I guess you would say this rule goes into effect, where I have to forfeit because of an injury.
13 plays.
Shorty Ruiz goes in and wins that. The lucky loser is now vying for a chance to play the #1 seed because that's where they're automatically going to get placed.
So the lucky loser, you're saying, doesn't pick. Oh, so he's playing the #1 seed.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm surprised you didn't have that. Know that. And also, they don't automatically get cash for that spot. They have to actually earn it. This is it's a buyback in.
I did know
scenario.
that.
Okay,
I did know that. I didn't know that they had to play the #1 seed, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't dispute it.
I mean, you can't give them any type of advantage when somebody actually played the tournament the right way and qualified. So, not saying that there is much of an advantage between 1 and 4 because
I think you are, though. I mean, I kind of tend to think that you are saying that.
Well, try not to. Here's another setup for Abraham Montijo. Pushes that ball down the left. Carlos sticks his left paw out there. Carlos coming back from San Diego, winning the 35 and older national championship.
Timeout. 1 minute.
Just recently, as we are working on our court sounds here so we can hear it through our headsets a little bit better. It sounds good when you hear the ball hit the wall. Right, Dave? Do you admit to that? Or
I agree with that. It's just that perfect sound that the Race for 8 ball makes against this hard panel.
Interesting recovery. This is the Race for 8 stop number 6. We have the big one coming up in Seattle, Washington in just a couple weeks. And that's going to be at the Washington Athletic Club. If you're looking to possibly make a family vacation out of this, you might want to start booking tickets now and get a hold of the Seattle folks. Joel Carlson is your man at Seattle Tickets at racefor8.com. Just give him a quick email, ask him about ticket availability. Seattle Tickets at racefor8.com. Now, I hate to be the one to break the news, but I think it's about time we do. Paul Brady qualifies for the Seattle event.
Yeah, well, I knew that because he had double points from the U.S. Open, but what does that have to do with Seattle?
Well, he's got enough points to actually be invited to Seattle because of those wins.
Yeah, but we have never seen him in a WPH event, so what does that have to do with it?
Well, he has confirmed his availability.
Wait a second. Wait a second. You're telling me Paul Brady, the 4-time world champion, is going to be in Seattle, in the field?
7-time national champion. He's also won on that court that $50,000 prize purse that was provided by the PHA and all of their great sponsors. Paul Brady's returning back to Seattle, and he will be in the mix alongside the pros as one of the named 8.
So we know that he's the reigning national, world, and U.S. Open champion. What does that do for his seeding in
minutes, guys.
Seattle? Does that automatically make him the #1 seed, or?
No,
Oh.
we seed the tournament off of race points.
Okay.
And I believe that would put him about 5. We haven't ran this tournament yet, so we don't know exactly.
He actually could not be, and I'm going to look at my rankings right now. He could not be higher, Dave, than #6 because Emmett Peugeot and Andy Nett already have 21 plus points. Brady has 20. He won't pick up any more between now and Seattle. So he will be the 6th seed there, based on race points. Actually, he'll be the 7th seed, Dave.
So where do you guys go out to, like, party and hang out? Denver or something? I mean, yeah.
The nightlife is an important aspect of this tour, Dave, as you can hear from our referee, who will not be paid for this performance based on that chatter.
You're watching the WPH race for 8
like
as we are winding down this tour this year, getting ready for the final ranking points so we can name who will be placed into Seattle.
Well, the top 7, Dave, are mathematically guaranteed to be in that event. The only suspense as far as who will be in that field in Seattle, Dave, will be Aaron Garner and Nadi Alvarado Jr. Nadi has 14 race points based on the semifinal finish in Alaska and the final finish in Houston. Aaron Garner has 10.25 points, which means, as you know, Dave, and everyone watching knows, he'll need a 5th place finish or better here. He'll need to score at least 4 points here or more to overtake Nadi. Otherwise, it will be Nadi. Now, of course, Anthony Celesto could make the finals of this event or win the event. He would then be thrust into that 8th spot. Abraham Montijo also the same scenario. So those are more long shots. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but it hasn't happened yet for those guys. And it's really, for my money, Dave, coming down to Aaron, the blonde bombshell, the other blonde bombshell, and Nadi Alvarado, Tigrado.
Well, it looks as if Aaron Garner has a chance here. We saw other things like that happen in previous stops. Aaron is certainly one of those players that if he were to try to break in, he could do it here. And so hopefully for him and his family. And
well, Dave, I want to show everybody where we were early this morning, Dave. You and I actually went jogging right to the top of that peak. And, Dave, I know you know the name of it. I believe that's Park City, the Rocky Mountains right there. But, Dave, for those who don't know, you actually jog every morning. And you climbed to the top of that peak right there.
A little bit right there.
Oh, right there, the higher point.
You're right there.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay.
And then I pulled my groin afterwards, which proved to be not very smart.
Yeah. I mean, that really hampered your pro career. And I don't know if we go back to the rule book here, I'm still here on page 163, if you pick up ranking points for winning that, you do pick up ranking points, even though you forfeited the qualifier. I mean, I'm not judging.
Well,
just asking.
What would you rather have? And I thought about this, and we all thought about this when we made this manual.
Who's we all? Just by
I'll
the way.
get to that in a second.
Okay.
But would you rather have a player like myself go in there and just stand and let the server serve 25 straight?
Well, generally, when you can't move, you just forfeit. You say, I've injured myself, and I'll live to play another day.
But I thought about this. Back, especially when we're making the manual, I can go in there and just let him serve 25 straight just to say I did it.
Yeah.
But what does that accomplish? So in that case, it's called the serve to 25-point rule, and ranking points still stay in effect.
Let me just find that here in my index. So it's the serve to 25-point rule, you say?
Serve to 25 points. Well, whatever format you're in. But
okay, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, I mean, you could just stand in the court and just let them serve to you, and then it makes a mockery of the game, and that's just the mockery rule. We don't want to make a mockery. And so instead, we initialized the lucky loser portion of that.
Yeah.
Right. We have 15.
Well, it's actually the special lucky loser, because the lucky losers are the 13 through 16 players.
Yeah.
Pass shot there from Abraham. Big setup now. And I don't know why Carlos, Dave, runs to his left there. He gives up the entire court. Instead of moving back to the center, blocked himself into the side wall. They call that the ace wall, Dave. That's for the Salt Lake City Aces.
17,
They're the hosts here
24.
this week, Dave. And of course, they are struggling this year, just as they did last year. Almost like, Dave, the Washington Generals of the Pro Handball Race for 8 Tour. They put on a good show, but they haven't won a championship or even a race stop in the history of this race.
18 plays 4.
Oh, good shot there from Honest Abe. I know, Dave, that you know that the
19
Washington Senators
plays
actually
4.
changed their name to the Global Select. You can actually look that up. I watched them play this year. If it wasn't for that gosh darn 4-point shot the Globetrotters kept making, I think that Global Select had a shot.
Well, that
You know, when Curley gets hot there, Dave, from the 4-point line, it's tough to stop.
Plays 4.
Unfortunately, Dave, we're not going to be able to continue this incredible commentary for the rest of the afternoon because I will be certifying coaches. In fact, Dave, the process has become so popular. Not only do we have 7 pros signed up today, Dave, but we've got guys driving and flying in from over 500 miles away to become certified and learn how to coach this great game.
well, we will certainly miss you here in the booth. Abraham Montijo just putting a licking
Second serve.
on Chavez. Abraham really likes that right corner. And if there ever was a glitch in his game, it's maybe wanting to hit it too much. And that time he just powered the ball right at the feet of Carlos Chavez, who just looks all out of sorts right now, Dave. Montijo serving.
3 plays 4.
23 to 4 here. That ball just a nice little reverse slide hook. Ball does not touch that left wall.
24 possible game.
Here it
point,
is
plays 4.
to qualify one more time with the WPH. Abraham Montijo. Boy, getting that ball back. Nice get. And a side out. Dave, is it difficult to play these players like Montijo that track balls down and seem to get everything that you hit when you pass them?
Well,
Or is
Dave,
it-
it's like what a lot of great players have told me through the years is you want them to keep getting those balls back. Good, that's more opportunities for you to hit great shots. So I think that's the approach you have to take, because if you go in there and you're upset that these balls keep coming back, it starts to play into your shot making selection. You start to make poor decisions. But you know, your opponent in there he's actually your partner in there. He's helping you play well. If it wasn't for your opponent, Dave, who would be in there to return the ball for you?
Second serve.
For some reason, though, I don't like when Emmett tracks down all my shots. That's a different story.
There's a nice side out there. Montijo back in the box.
24 plays
Coming up
5.
next will be Martin Mulkerns from Ireland up against the baby Chip Morales, who was on the Elite 8 squad for a few stops, but lost his mojo.
Second serve.
Speaking of the devil, this
Well,
is
Chip Morales is proof, Dave, that if you can earn your way into that Elite 8 in a couple of these events, and Chip finished 6th twice last year, he earned enough points to continue getting himself invited. And without even winning matches, he was able to kind of hover in that 7, 8, 9 area and continue to be invited. This is the first event he has not been invited to play in, actually the second this season. believe it or not, Chip Morales has only won one match since the Salt Lake City event of last year. That was a playoff match. And Dave, Abe Montijo is our first qualifier here. Somewhat surprising how easily he qualifies, but he is the #1 seed, and he advances here 25-5. And you see the big smile there from Honest Abe. Carlos Chavez will play tomorrow against one of the 2, 3, or 4 seeds. It's not what he had in mind here today.
Okay,
Dave.
we're going to take a quick break, Dave. I know you're going to go run a elite coaching clinic with a bunch of aspiring coaches here for the next few hours, so we're going to miss you. It was nice having you here. What are your thoughts about Martin Mulkerns after watching him play earlier today? He's going up against Chip Morales. Let's say that Chip Morales from Fresno shows up. Will Martin still defeat him?
Well, I think that would be an exceptional match. Chip Morales at the level he was playing at in Fresno against Martin Mulkerns, Dave, would be a high-scoring, as you like to say, both guys in the 20s, maybe even overtime type of match. Martin Mulkerns became a senior player in Ireland, which is the equivalent of qualifying here last year. So he's been playing at the senior level, which means against the top guys over there, Brady and McCarthy and Michael Gregan and such. And he's earned his way into that #14 ranking. And you have to remember, the rankings there in Ireland are a 2-year rolling process. So he only has 1 year of rankings under his belt, and he's already climbed to #14. So he's a top 10 player in Ireland, maybe even a top 8 player in Ireland. He's knocked off some of the guys in their top 8. And he's just a very, very steady player. He doesn't make errors. He's got 2 good hands. He can play the ceiling game. He can drive the ball straight down the walls with both hands. He's a tough out for anybody, Dave, and I could see him beating Chip and then going on and winning more matches after that. This is a guy that is very focused. He's very fit, and he's been schooled, and he knows how to play this game.
Okay, we're going to catch that match coming up in about 30 minutes from right now, so you stay close. For Dave Fink, Linda Manning, Justin Garrad, my name is Dave Vincent. You stay here. It's the Race for 8 qualifiers in Salt Lake City, and we'll have more action in just a few.
My name is Bruce Fabrizio. In 1975, I invented Simple Green based on 3 principles. It had to be safer to use, it had to work, and it had to be completely made in America. From generation to generation, Simple Green has been cleaning everything from car engines and tools to kitchen counters and floors. No matter what you clean, indoors or outdoors, clean it with non-toxic, biodegradable Simple Green.
Working and working out takes a lot of energy. That's why I drink Zenergy. Feeling fantastic and looking good has never been easier. Science, extreme science for your active lifestyle.